Grenfell, I'd like to make a few thanks on my maiden speech. First, to the great staff here in the House of Lords. They are attentive, polite, and very helpful. For 2 weeks now, I've been constantly getting lost around the Westminster estate. A member of the Lord staff asked, "Lord Woolley, you look a bit lost. Can I help?" "Yes, sir. Could you tell me where the chamber is?" "Yes, my lord, it's behind you." I also want to thank the police too. I met 2 black police officers who I spoke to briefly and had a casual rapport. One of them said to me, "Yeah, man, respect. It's good to see another black lord in the house." But equally, I want to thank you, lords and baronesses. You've made me feel very welcome in your, now our house. I spoke to Lord Hogan now before I came in, and he was going to leave half an hour earlier. He said, "I heard you speaking, so I'm going to stay." This is the type of generosity I've received. I particularly want to thank my supporter peers and friends, Baroness Young, Baroness Etchie, Lord Judge, Baroness Saida Varsi, Baroness Lawrence, Baroness Chakrabarti, Lord Hastings, Lord Morris. I follow in your footsteps. I think it's also right that I thank the Right Honourable Theresa May, former Prime Minister, not only for appointing me to this prestigious role, but equally for having faith with the idea of the race disparity audit. That leadership role has meant we've established a framework that first lays bare uncomfortable truths about racial disparities, the educational unachievement of some white working class boys and girls, the data that shows youth incarceration of black, Asian and minority ethnic individuals at a staggering 45%. The simple fact that too many African, Asians and Caribbeans are born in poverty. All this data has been laid bare with the former Prime Minister establishing the mantra, explain the inequalities or change through policy and collaboration. The model has been applauded by the United Nations and the Organization for Economic Development, who said, and I quote, "This is an exemplar framework for migration analysis." Lastly, on the thank yous, I want to thank my mother, who fostered, then adopted me. On the St Matthew's Council Estate in Leicester, where we lived, my mum taught me to have good manners and respect, to fight for myself and to fight for others. I think that she knew that I would be a disciple of Dr. Martin Luther King and Bernie Grant. This is still Black History Month, by the way. They both had a dream, but also a plan. And step 1 of that plan was voter registration. Don't ask for justice, demand it. We don't beg for equality, we vote for it. That's how we started Operation Black Vote 25 years ago with Rita Patel, Lee Jasper, Dave Weaver, Ashok Viswanathan, Audrey Adams, and Mina Dobie. Back then, my lords, we had 4 black and minority MPs. Now there are over 50. With a number of city mayors, many from Operation Black Vote, including Mayor Marvin Rees of Bristol, Lord Mayor Anne Rothery of Liverpool, Tan Desai MP, Helen Grant MP, Marsha de Cordova MP and Clive Lewis. But we also nurtured BME magistrates, over 100, who have collectively served more than 1,000 years of public service. Voter registration was and still is our bedrock. You give people a voice by ensuring they have political power. It's our duty, my lords. We ensure we get our citizens registered to vote and engaging in our democracy. You know, it takes 3 minutes to register to vote, and we should ensure that everybody has a voice. I hope you're getting the picture about what I care about: social and racial justice. My view is that there is potential talent in every street, in every city, in every corner of Great Britain, I put it to you. I put it to you that it's our task to ensure there are real pathways for potential talent to flourish. This is not a zero-sum game, by the way. We all benefit from unleashing talent. We become more creative, more dynamic, more comfortable with ourselves. You should also know that I deeply care about some of the most vulnerable and often voiceless in our society. They are the Roma and Gypsy and traveller communities. They are. Both here and right across Europe, they are amongst the most persecuted peoples. My message, our message to them must be, your struggle is our struggle. My other challenge is for us to have an adult conversation about drugs policy. My lords, it is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to read about young men, many of whom are black, murdering other young men, often in drug gang rivalry. I'm equally saddened when I hear about the overdoses of those with drug addiction, when I know their deaths might have been prevented. My lords, if we have an adult conversation, a grown-up discussion about drugs policy through the prism of public health, I promise you this, we'll save lives. Actually, we'll save money too, and heartache. My final point to the tragedy of Grenfell. We owe to those who have lost their lives, to the survivors, to the family and friends still grieving, to lay bare the most uncomfortable truths, not just around the day, but around broader contributory elements, including poverty and powerlessness. This is not a party political point. I'm just imploring, in our privilege, to give voice to those families. How do we challenge the systemic structural failings? My final point, for today at least, is that we become a beacon of hope, even more than we probably are now. More than ever, we must rise above the very tribal, often, nature of British politics and seek common ground. Right now, our society, our nation, is crying out for leadership. Strong, decent, and collective. Thank you.
What a privilege, my lords, to